vamos a centrar más en el comportamiento. Hasta hace muy poco tiempo, y hoy sigue siendo frecuente escucharlo, el comportamiento canino se explicaba únicamente desde un enfoque conductista, estudiando posibles relaciones de contingencia entre estímulos y conductas. ¿Cómo ha cambiado hoy día esto? O sea, ¿cuál es el enfoque actual para el estudio del comportamiento canino?
Dogs were very unfortunate in some respect because they have been chosen by Pavlov to be the subject that he was studying when he was showing classical conditioning. So when Pavlov did his famous experiments, he chose dogs to demonstrate that. And I think what that meant is that from then on, people kind of thought this is all that dogs can do. So any behavior in dogs can be explained by classical conditioning, and it's not going beyond that. You find classical conditioning, of course, in many animals, so this is an effect that we know is even present in humans, so this is not a question. But the new approach in what we are doing when we are studying dog cognition is to ask the question whether dogs are also able to solve certain problems flexibly. So dogs are faced with different problems. So these problems can be social or they can be non-social. And sometimes situations change quickly and the dogs have to make a decision on how to react. And we want to know, can dogs in some situations come to a very flexible solution to solve the problem in front of them? And the answer is clearly yes, sometimes they can.
De los trabajos que habéis expuesto y de otros trabajos se deduce que los perros se relacionan competentemente a nivel social tanto con perros como con personas. ¿Qué diferencias existen cuando interactúan con otros perros respecto a cuando interactúan con personas?
This field is quite young, so looking at dogs in the way that we are doing now, so really studying dog cognition is quite a young field. So people are just doing that for 20 years now, which is not a lot of time. At the moment, people are focusing very much on the dog-human relationship because we see some evidence that dogs have developed special skills when it comes to interacting with humans. We have not studied enough the dog-dog relationship, and we have not studied enough how it might differ from the dog-human relationship. So this is clearly a field for future research and needs to be studied more intensely.
En tu libro y también en el seminario que has impartido, has explicado muchos mecanismos a través de los cuales los perros son capaces de interpretarnos correctamente a nivel social, de recibir información valiosa de las personas. Te voy a hacer la pregunta al revés. ¿Cómo podemos nosotros interpretar correctamente a los perros a nivel social y cómo podemos transmitirle la información social que nos resulte interesante transmitirles o que deseemos transmitirles?
Okay, so I think one difficulty in the dog-human relationship is that I think at the moment we are sometimes seeing the two extremes when we are interacting with our dogs. So there's the one extreme where people are looking at dogs like if they are machines that sort of operate under certain rules and there's no flexibility whatsoever, and you can just train them by operant conditioning. They don't understand anything about the world. So this would be one extreme. The other extreme that is also out there is to treat them like little children, like if they would understand everything and they basically understand everything we say and they understand everything we do and they basically look at us like if we are their parents and they are children and they basically understand. So the truth, I think, is somewhere in the middle. So we have to respect that there are certain limitations. There are certain things where dogs and humans differ very much, but we should also not underestimate them, which means we should not think that dogs cannot think flexibly. Of course they can. They can solve problems flexibly. They can come to flexible solutions in certain situations. And not accepting that would mean to underestimate them.
En el entrenamiento canino, quizá la importación más masiva de conocimientos que ha habido fue en los años 50, cuando se importaron las bases de trabajo conductistas, que siguen siendo hoy día un poco quizá las que más dominan en el ideario de los entrenadores caninos, ¿no? Y que se hizo pues, en los años 50 del siglo pasado. El clicker training es una visión del entrenamiento que directamente está relacionado con estas pautas conductistas. Hoy día muchos consideran esta forma de entrenar, el clicker training, casi una filosofía, que además de ser útil para la enseñanza de conductas, permite ordenar y sistematizar nuestra relación con los perros. Desde la óptica de los nuevos conocimientos sobre las capacidades cognitivas sociales de los perros, ¿cómo ves esta idea de relacionarnos con los perros y entrenarlos únicamente a través de procesos de conocimiento operante, únicamente usando el reforzador condicionado que es el clicker?
We know that dogs have been adapted even to use human communication. Dogs are very sensitive to human communication. They are very sensitive to social cues coming from humans. So, in my personal opinion, interacting with your dog in a social way, which involves natural social communication, is much nicer and simply more natural than using a clicker. So we know that dogs learn very well when they hear the human voice. We know that dogs learn very well when people are looking at them. So we know that dogs really attend to all these cues. So for a healthy dog-human relationship, a clicker is not really needed for the dog to learn anything. The other side of the story is that the clicker might actually even prohibit the dog to find its own solution to a problem. Because rather than really focusing on the problem, the dog might simply just focus on waiting for the next click. So not even focusing on the entire problem at all, but simply just waiting for the thing, the movement that it made that sort of led to the click. So as a scientist, I'm actually really worried that dogs that have been clicker trained to a high extent might not actually focus on the entire problem anymore and might not even focus on solving a problem. We actually even saw that in one of our studies where we actually had to exclude a group of dogs from a problem-solving study. And these dogs were clicker trained. And the problem with these dogs was that they did not attend at all to the problem in front of them, even though we knew that other dogs can solve this. They didn't attend to this anymore. The only thing they did is attending to their owner and waiting for the next click, basically. And so we had to basically say, sorry, these dogs are not even seeing the problem anymore. They're just waiting for the click to come. So I think, yes, if you're training wild animals and they are not receptive to human communication and to human social cues, then maybe a click can be helpful. But for a normally behaving dog that is very responsive to human communication, I don't think a clicker is necessary.
Entonces, ¿crees que los descubrimientos que estáis haciendo, sobre todo sobre las capacidades sociales, las capacidades cognitivas sociales de los perros, que parecen ser muchas que las capacidades de cognición física, que las capacidades objetuales, ¿crees que deberían ser la base para que los entrenadores desarrollásemos una nueva tecnología del comportamiento acorde a estos conocimientos, apartando un poco a un lado la visión de trabajar todo en base a condicionamiento?
Clicker training focuses on operant and classical conditioning only. Okay, so it reduces the dog to something like being a machine that responds to certain things. Because that's what the whole method of clicker training is focusing on. If I'm now in my natural interactions with the dog, if I'm reducing it to this, to just a click and not staying natural and interacting in a natural social way, then I'm not using the full potential that the dog actually has. And that's a scientific question, and people are studying this out there, is to see whether clicker training not only reduces our communication with the dog, but it also really affects their problem-solving abilities. So this is actually the research that people are doing at the moment, to study if it might even reduce dogs to not being able to see the entire problem anymore and just being focusing on this clicker thing all the time. And that's an open scientific question, and I'm going to be very interested to see the results.